Hello, welcome back, and this is hopefully the first of 3 relatively short tutorials that look at sort of kinetic typography, animated text, whatever you want to call it. In this one we're going to make this sort of flipping card effect. Okay, so as per usual we're going to be working in Fusion, so we need our Fusion comp. So come up to the effects library, make sure it's turned on, effects, Fusion comp, and drag it onto our timeline. Playhead over it and into Fusion. So the first thing we're going to need is our 2 cards. So for that we're going to bring in 2 text nodes. In the first one we will have state, and in the second one we will have focused, and I'm just going to pop them into windows just so I can sort of get a sense of the size of them compared to each other. I'm going to bring text size up to 0.1 for both. And what I'm also going to do with the state is I'm going to drag the tracking out so it's roughly as long as the focused. About there-ish. You can check it by just merging them briefly and viewing the merge. Yeah, you can see the S is slightly less than we want it to be, so let's just pull that tracking a bit more. That's it, about there will do. Cool. Get rid of the merge node, we don't need it. Next I'm going to place each of our texts onto a card, and to do that we simply drag in a background and we attach a rectangle to the background and we merge our text onto it. And if we now view that merge, you've got your word on a card. You don't need this stage at all. If you don't want your word on a card, you can just have it free floating, but I prefer it on a card. So I'm going to copy that background and merge. So Command C to copy, click away from your tree, and Command V to paste. I'll bring the merge text onto the green foreground input of the merge, and I'm going to share this background by taking a second output and dropping it onto the second background node. So if we now view focused, we've also got that on a card. Excellent. Next bit, we're going to go into the wonderful world of 3D. For any 3D animation you're going to need a merge 3D and a render 3D, both of which are available from this hotbar. And for this particular effect we're going to use image planes, which is our first 3D icon. So we need 2 image planes, both of which will get piped into our 3D merge. Now if we view our 3D scene, we've got white cards, not very entertaining. There's 2 of them there, but they're both occupying the same space. So next we're going to attach our words by dragging the output of our merge node to the green input of each merge plane, or each image plane, sorry. Again, we still have 2 cards, but at the minute you can only see 1 because they're occupying the same space. So just to make things a little clearer for a minute, if you click on the image plane from text, the text to path, which is our focus word, you can just drag it up a bit so you can see it. Later on we will be putting that back so that they overlap, but just for clarity for the time being we'll leave them there. Now what we need to do is have the image planes so that they're visible from the front, but if you spin them round they're invisible from the back. To do that you come into each image plane. We'll start with the stay image plane here. Make sure the controls tab is selected, go to visibility, and where you've got cull faces, check back. Now our stay has become invisible from the back. And we're going to do the same for our focused. So controls, visibility, cull faces, back. Now both cards have disappeared. To spin round like this, I forgot to mention, basically I'm holding down the option key and the middle mouse button, and it allows me to rotate around the 3D image. Okay, next thing we need to do is turn focused over, and what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over so that it's back to back with stay but upside down. To do that, come into image plane 3D2, go to your third tab along in the inspector, which is transform, and we're going to rotate around X, and you're going to set X to -180. So now if we rotate, you can see we've got stay facing forward that way and focus facing forward the other way. So now all we need to do is line them up. To do that, if you come back to your inspector in translation, you can see that our Y value is above 0. Just bring your mouse to this little dot in the middle and press the dot, and it restores it back to its default position. So we now have the two cards back to back, and this is what we're going to be flipping and twisting. What I'm also going to do now is I'm going to take my media out and just drag it into the second window so that we can see what's happening. At the minute it looks quite small, but that's fine. We can address that once we get back into the edit screen. So we want to do two things to this card. We want it to flip forward and we want it to twist slightly at the corners. So let me just tidy things up a bit here so I can see what I'm doing. For the flip, we're going to use the Merge 3D here. So select your Merge 3D, come to your Transform tab, and we're going to be rotating around X. So we're now going to do some keyframing. I'm going to reel off some numbers here. These are just the numbers that I used. Which numbers or which frames you use and what timings you use are up to you, but these are the ones I found kind of worked for me. So starting at frame 0, I'm going to keyframe the X rotation by just pressing on the little dot here. I've not changed anything. I'm then going to come forward to frame 15 and keyframe again. Basically what that's done is it's given it 15 frames when nothing's actually happening. Next stopping point is going to be frame 33. And here we're going to rotate so that X is positive 180. You'll notice as I make changes to this now, it automatically sets the next keyframe. Next we're going to come forward to frame 51, and we're going to manually keyframe again at 180. Basically that's spun it round between 15 and 33, and now it's stationary between 33 and 51. Finally we're going to come up to frame 75, and we are going to rotate it so that it comes around to 360. So what we've got now is our card flips and flips again. So that's the flip part taken care of. Next we're going to take care of the little corner twists, and to do that we're going to use a bender node. So if you make sure your merge 3D is selected, shift space and type bender, and this pops the bender node into your node graph for you, already connected. If for some reason it wasn't connected, press and hold the shift key and drag, come over the line, you'll see the line change colour under your mouse, and then that will connect it. Alternatively, you can do it manually, so you take from the output of the merge into the input of the bender, output of the bender into the render, and you're connected. In the bender node you have several modes of operation. At the top, the one we're after is twist. We're going to be twisting around the x-axis, and the amount selects how much we twist. And we're going to use a value of -0.5. So again, we now need to do the keyframing, and again I've got some numbers that I've previously worked with that marry up with the flip. So at frame 0 we're going to keyframe at 0 amount. We're going to come to frame 12. We're going to change this. No, we're not going to change that at all. We're going to leave that where it is. So keyframe again at 0. Then come to frame 15 and change it to -0.5, sorry. Then we're going to go to frame 33 and bring it back to 0. Frame 45, keyframe again at 0. Then frame 51, back to -0.5. And finally frame 75, back to 0. And that is our complete animation sequence. So you've got the slight flip and then it rolls, slight flip and then it rolls. Now to get that to keep doing it without having to keep re-entering our keyframes, we can use our spline editor, which you can find at the top here. With the spline editor open, make sure you check both the merge 3D and the bender 3D. Come over to the right hand side of the spline window, you've got this little button that says zoom to fit. Hit that and it puts all the keyframes in. So you can group select them all and press F on your keyboard, and this just sort of adds some easing and flattens out curves where you need them to be flattened. Whilst you've still got them all selected, if you come down to the bottom of the spline window, you've got these icons, and this one here is set loop. If you click that, it now repeats this pattern over and over. So if we now close our spline window, come back to frame 0 and hit play, it will just keep repeating the pattern. The only other thing I did was to make it so that the comp could be tiled to whole rotations. So if you see, each of these sort of sudden drops is a rotation. So I got as near to the end as I could with a full, so that's sort of not going to hit a full rotation, so just come back to this point here. If you then close your spline window, don't move anything, your playhead is now in the same place on the edit screen. You can use Command and B and just chop off this end. Now this will be tileable if you so wish it. Now at the minute it's on a transparent background which is black on a black card, so you can't see the card, so I'll just drop it up and very quickly bring in a solid colour, which we can also trim. And I will change this to something else, like that. So now we can see our black card. Check out our animation. To make it bigger, select your Fusion comp, come up to your inspector and simply zoom, and then you can make it as big as you want. And again, the other thing I forgot to do is in the image plane, if you come to the controls tab of each image plane, you've got subdivisions. Just whop it up, so control tab, subdivisions, and it just sort of smooths out the edges of your card as it's rotating, so it doesn't look as janky. That's it. Hope you liked it. Please feel free to subscribe, hit the notification bell and hit the like button. As I say, I will be doing a couple of other simple sort of animated text things, hopefully fairly quickly. So yeah, cheers.